Secretary General Antonio Guterres has held talks with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, focusing on the redeployment of forces from Yemen's key port and the situation in Venezuela. Our U.S. correspondent Sherwin Bryce Pease is at the headquarters in New York to tell us a little bit more about this. Sherwin, let's first start with that meeting with Mike Pompeo. What came out of it? Do we know yet?
A very brief meeting. He arrived, walked past a gathering of reporters at Pease. We yelled out questions as to what the content of his meetings would be with the Secretary General, what those meetings would be about. He raised his arm very politely, didn't take any questions, spent about 30 minutes with the SG, we understand, discussing the issue, as you mentioned, in Yemen. But very much a focus here in the days ahead will be the situation in Venezuela. We understand from a readout from the Secretary General's office that they discussed not only Yemen but also the situation in Venezuela. And as you will be well aware, there is a convoy of aid sitting on the Colombian border. The interim president that is recognized by over 30 countries, Juan Guaido, is leading a caravan to the border to try and get this humanitarian aid, this U.S.-provided humanitarian aid into the country. That is due to happen in the coming hours, certainly by Saturday, we understand. And so we imagine that that was a very, very big part of the discussions between Antonio Guterres and Mike Pompeo, concern certainly from the UN chief in terms of a military standoff. We understand that the military armed forces of Venezuela, under the authority of President Nicolas Maduro, have positioned themselves at the border. So there is a real concern that there could be a military standoff and concern that there could be violence on the streets of Venezuela if indeed the military blocks those aid convoys from coming into the country.
Now, Sherwin, hours before he was due to attend an event around Black History Month, U.S. President Donald Trump joined the politically charged fray around Empire actor Jussie Smollett, hitting out with a tweet. Take us through that.
Well, the president weighing in here, not unsurprisingly, given the fact that the allegations around this attack, which according to police are completely false, included the accusation that the alleged attackers of Jussie Smollett shouted at him that this is MAGA country, and MAGA, of course, stands for Make America Great Again. So it was certainly targeting Trump supporters, certainly the president himself. But as we have learned, certainly in the last 24 hours, Jussie Smollett has now been charged for faking this attack, claiming that this was a homophobic and racist attack. And just moments ago, Pease, the producers of the drama series, the American drama series Empire, announcing that Smollett's character Jamal in the series will be written out of the script for the final 2 episodes of the season. So police saying that he staged this attack with the help of 2 Americans of Nigerian descent. And this is an important qualification to make. These are 2 American citizens whose parents come from Nigeria. They were born and raised in the Chicago area. They were known to Smollett. One was an extra on the Empire set. The brother was Smollett used to train together, was his personal trainer. And so that's an important clarification to make. But of course, Smollett written out of the script and will now not, as police say, get the salary increase he was hoping to get by this sort of weird publicity, Pease.
Okay, so let's take a look at next week, Sherwin. We know that President Donald Trump hopes to move beyond the pleasantries when he meets with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Is there a plan that's been set out on how to do this?
Well, I think it's important also to reflect at a moment like this on what was achieved after the first summit last summer in Singapore, right? I mean, the main aim here is denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. What we've seen are some goodwill steps from the United States. They've suspended their joint military exercises with South Korea as an act of goodwill. But there hasn't been any tangible progress in terms of being able to verify steps taken by the DPRK in terms of denuclearization. So what the Vietnam summit will try to achieve from a U.S. administration point of view is to install or establish a verification mechanism and a clear timeline as to how this denuclearization process will happen, the decommissioning of nuclear weapon sites in the DPRK, very specific granular detail as to how this will happen. Certainly from the DPRK point of view, from Pyongyang's position, they want sanctions lifted. But the international community, Tsepiso, has been very clear that this will only happen once that verification mechanism is in place and able to see that progress is being done in that. In addition to that, it also offers another wonderful photo opportunity for these two leaders. That was a kind of a big focus of the Singapore summit. Look forward to seeing more of that, Tsepiso.
So let's talk about that. Shows an extravaganza. We've got the Academy Awards this Sunday, Sherwin. And it's been said since 1989, the first time that the Oscars will have no host or presenters. So take us through what is likely to happen.
Well, initially, Chris Hart, the actor Chris Hart, was due to host, but the minute his name was announced, the people on social media started investigating his Twitter timelines, and his social media history displayed rants again of a homophobic nature. In fact, he in 2015 made a statement that he would do his best to prevent his son from being gay or something along those lines. So the outrage was palpable. He refused to apologize. Apparently, he was asked by the Oscar management to apologize for those tweets. He refused to do so, stepped down. And so there will be no one singular host, but a number of hosts. All the big names will be there introducing various categories, Tsepiso. And I think from perhaps an African perspective, I think we'll all be watching to see how well Black Panther does. Black Panther has been nominated for 6 awards, none of the big actor awards, but it includes Best Picture. Also very interesting, the film leading the nominations with 10 nominations is a film called Roma. Roma was a Netflix original. So what you are beginning to see from these online streaming platforms is them really cementing their place in the movie industry. So it'll be very interesting to see how many of those 10 nominations Roma will pick up at the end. A Star is Born. That, of course, is the collaboration between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is also nominated in the Best Actor category, Best Actress category. But also watch out for Glenn Close. I mean, this is a veteran actor all the way back to the days of Fatal Attraction. So, Pease, you and I will remember that. Glenn Close could win her very first Oscar after what certainly can be described as an illustrious career. It's
certainly going to be a fascinating watch. Thank you very much, Sherwin, Bryce, Pease, and pundits certainly have their work cut out for them in terms of what the favourites will be and who will win. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll return.